As the guy is soaring towards him, Ojin, standing on his back, senses him as he's too loud. Telling him to shut up for a bit, he charges his lighting spear and it pierces across the guy's body, killing him on the spot. With a dreadful stare, Ojin is upset as the guy interrupts his thoughts. Meanwhile, Zhang warns him that Ashad Khan is here, and to get out of here as it's dangerous. Instead, our boy tells him to stop talking, and casts Aquarius Stigma's healing water drops that will keep him alive for a bit. Facing Ashad Khan, our boy commands him to hold on and presumes that he still needs to tell Zhang the last lie he has for him. Meanwhile, Ashad wonders what he needs to think over, assuming that he's trying to find a way to make it alive. But to his surprise, it's the opposite as Ojin forcefully glides towards Ashad Khan and his men, mumbling that he's thinking about his mom who asked him to take good care of him as her final wish. But our guy can't keep the promise. With that, he impressively flies with his spear gun, and using the wires, he tightly wraps up the owls and kills them in the blink of an eye. After that, Ojin leaps towards Ashad with his spear charged with lighting and makes a strike that creates an explosion. However, Khan manages to escape the deadly attack, and our boy already seems to know he'd be strong thanks to his Kane's Venatatsi. Concluding that he's a lot stronger than he anticipated. Even his best attack attempt, it didn't even scratch Ashad. Emerging from his stigma, Khan compliments him, saying it's hard to believe that he's a 4-star, but then he makes a comeback, striking exploding feathers toward Ojin. Slightly panicking, our guy quickly dashes away from the feathers and realizes that this is what he used to set off the storage. As their fight continues with relentless attacks of lighting and feathers, Ashad lets out that his reaction speed isn't bad and wonders if it is his instincts that are good. Whilst he keeps blabbering, Ojin uses Exceed to the full extent that he even obtains lighting flames. Using way too much mana, his lighting flames power reaches level 2, and the system warns him that his body isn't capable of handling the level 2, saying that he talks too damn much. Our guy smashes the spear on the ground, creating awe-striking lighting that blows Ashad away. Well, it looks like our boy wanted to avoid using Exceed, but he had no other choice. And now there's too much gap between the amount of mana he can use at once, and how much he can. On the other hand, there's not much damage done to Ashad, and that's when he implores the great star of Strix to bestow him with the blessings of the Dark Star, and now, the time of Strix is here. Losing his shit watching Khan's Strix blessing, our boy thought he was an intermediate rank administrative official, but he seems to have the phase when he's not even the final boss. In a flash, Ashad crashes him away with his powers while Ojin is baffled as he can't think of a way to defeat him. Moving with the speed of light, Khan follows him like a shadow and slashes him with the sword. Disappointed that he aimed for the throat, Ashad still manages to cut off his right arm, making him lose his weapon. With his one arm slashed, Ojin still smacks his face and falls down, bleeding from everywhere. However, our guy makes it clear that the fight isn't over yet until he says it. Thinking he's not in his right mind, Khan, who seems to be hopping mad, wields his sword and slashes it through his throat. As Ojin starts bleeding at the mouth, Ashad forces him to get back up and fight. But our guy lies there helpless while Khan calls him an insane bastard and concludes that it's now really over, saying it's a shame that he won't be able to see him often. The guy leaves while poor Ojin is left under the pouring sky with no arm and a broken leg with blood streaming everywhere. Meanwhile, it's pouring really hard. Ashad decides to report that this mission was a success and heads to the association. Abruptly, he clutches his chest and realizes that he pushed himself too much against a mere 4-star. As he hurries to go back before the repercussions of the blessing start, at that moment, Khan notices that the dirt in the surrounding area is dry. Finding it impossible, he wonders how can the dirt be dry when it's raining too hard. And that's when a realization hits him that the rainwater is being absorbed somewhere else. Well, it looks like the rain is the source of Ojin's comeback. Standing back up on his feet, our boy asks Khan where he's going and clears up that he didn't take the weather into account. It's just a blessing in disguise. During this, the surrounding area is filled with the aura of water, and Ojin's arm regenerates with the water power affinity that has been greatly amplified. Thinking that it's only fair as Khan received Dark Star blessing, our boy enjoys getting soaked in the rain while a strike of terror runs through the guy, as he is left in disbelief, processing what has just happened. With a cold look in his eyes, Ojin utters that it's his time now and approaches the guy. As he walks towards him, Khan freaks out and asks him how it's possible that he just got back up like nothing happened. While lighting currents initiate, our guy responds if a non-final boss can have 2 phases. Referring to Khan, it's fine for him to have one too, saying that it's all nonsense. Ashad uses his stigma to attack him when suddenly he screams out of pain. Witnessing him in pain, Ojin analyzes at once that he's facing the repercussions of his blessing that usually affects the constellation. Our boy mocks him, saying that Strix's stigma isn't great while Khan turns pale, but he still attacks Ojin with his exploding feathers. However, our guy remains unfazed as the feathers don't even scratch him. Reminding him that it's his time, Ojin leaps toward him, striking lightning from all directions, but Khan somehow holds up with his stigma, halting the attack. Meanwhile, their powers clash, and Ashad is left appalled to see Ojin, who just rose up from the dead, saying that even if his injuries can heal, it won't erase the pain, asking if he doesn't feel any pain. On the other side, our boy uses all this strength to create lighting while his fingers are crushed. He responds that it does hurt, but enduring pain isn't really difficult. With that, he manages to sustain his mana without losing consciousness, leveling up his lightning powers. At that moment, the system warns him that his injuries are too serious, and the pain will worsen if he continues to receive more injuries. However, smirking, Ojin thinks that it's good as the penalty won't hinder his mobility. Enduring pain, our guy gets reminded of Yang and wonders if his dead son will come back if he endures this, and knows that there are things that cannot come back no matter how long they wait. Ojin decides to ignore the pain but just endure it, and with that, he goes berserk as the lightning power gets too powerful. Frightened to death, Ashad trips and begs him not to come near him, calling him a demon. As he is crawling his way back, Ojin steps on him, and with a deadly look in his eyes, he clarifies that he's an ordinary person, adding that it's because he's a human that he can endure the pain. With one last lighting attack, he finally ends it. The scene then switches to Jang Seoko, who's still hanging by a thread, and appreciates Ojin for killing Ashad Khan. Without wasting any time, our guy reveals that he has found his son. As Jang is taken aback, suddenly he hears his son calling him dad. It turns out to be his son Hyan Wu, who's worried about seeing his dad in pain. Smiling at his son, Jang apologizes to him, saying that dad's hurting and needs to sleep. Appeasing his son, Jang asks Hyan Wu to go with his man, referring to Ojin, and tells him to be nice to him and be healthy. Taking his hand, the father promises to come back no matter what to see him again, and hugs Hyan Wu, feeling glad that he's alright. With that last hug, Yang eventually stops breathing while his son stares at him. Well, it appears it wasn't Hyan Wu. It was Ojin's one last lie as he transformed himself into Jang's son and made him die peacefully. Looking at him sadly, our guy ponders that he can still feel the pain even though the injuries have healed, but he's glad that he was at least able to heal this much before this man died. Nonetheless, he decides to head back, and that's when he witnesses something incredible. His Lyra's stigma levels up to 5 stars. It's only been 2 months since he reached 4 stars, but he's already a 5-star now. Thinking that Vega would be surprised to know this, our guy still feels that he has a long way to go. Walking in pain, he reckons that he needs to become much stronger if he wants to stop lying to others. The next scene takes us to the apartment where Ojin freaks out after finding himself resting on Vega's lap. Trying to get up, Vega forces him to lie down and rest. Looking kinda disappointed after all her pleas to not push himself, but he did anyway. Lying on her lap, our guy tries to recall what happened as he only remembers coming home, tired from the battle, so he was not in his normal state, guessing that he might have let it all go once he saw Haeyun and blacked out. Wondering how much time has passed since then and why Vega is in her original state, he tries to get up, but the goddess doesn't let him. She then reveals that he was asleep for 4 days, and Haeyeon came to the sanctum herself because she was worried, adding that her restriction period was over, so she was able to come here. Ojin is curious about how the goddess can stay in her original form, as she can only be in this form in the sanctum. And that's when Vega lets out that the restrictions have been getting weaker ever since a few days ago, revealing it was actually the day he passed out after the battle. Thanks to that, Vega can hold her physical form for a longer period of time, and can even be in her original form for a bit. And it also turns out that the same thing is happening to Lyric, her spirit. Hearing this, Ojin gives it a thought and realizes that it's happening since the day he fought with Ashad Khan, wondering if he's the reason as he inherited partial records of the awakened Ashad Khan and obtains his skills. Absorbing the mana, Ojin feels the difference in quality since he became a 7-star and wonders how it'll be once he's an 8-star. He also fulfills the conditions of the 4th unlocking of the Black Heavens. We are then taken to Ojin's flashback after killing Ashad Khan. It is then narrated that after the battle with Ashad Khan, the Black Heaven was unlocked and the inheritance began. In other words, the inheritance of Khan's memories starts flowing, and we witness Ashad talking to someone on the phone who reports to him about Ojin being with the Valhalla Guild and orders him to take care of things, and he agrees to it. Just then, Khan asks him something about the Italy matter, when the guy on the phone realizes that he's talking about Leech Queen and informs him that it's hard to do anything since she's 3rd ranked as a bailiff, but he assures Khan that he've come up with the solution. Meanwhile, the records of Lee Shin-yuk and Ashad Khan are colliding, and a part of Lee Shin-yuk's memories get lost. As the Black Heavens is restoring records needed for the inheritance, our guy appears to be in pain, holding his head, because it's overlapping with Ashad Khan's memories, but at least it's restoring on its own. To his surprise, He gets a quest as a result of the fourth unlocking, and it is star devouring the demon of the skies, with the reward of random distribution of one of the ancient constellations. Clueless about the quest, he decides to ask Vega about it later. Yanking out of his flashback, Ojin does think that a lot happened that day, but he can't tell the real cause of Lyric's and Vega's sudden change in restrictions. After that, our guy asks if the goddess can give her blessings all the time if the restrictions are weaker, but Vega refuses, saying it's not that weak yet. Bracing herself, Vega assures him that she can support him during fights and shows her powers as he controls the lightning. Making Ojin's jaw drop, our boy is shocked to see Vega controlling lighting that incredibly and kinda gets humbled, wondering how much more he needs to improve to reach that level. Vega, creating our guy's face with the lighting, tells him to expect more from her. Just then, Ojin feels a lot better, but the goddess tells him to be careful as there's another person in the house who's angrier than her. At that moment, Haeon comes shouting and bursts open the door, asking if he's awake. Ojin is done for as Vega lets out a sneaky smile while Haeon lashes out at him, calling him a piece of shit. While our boy apologizes, Haeon is more than angry as she was worried about him. As the atmosphere is hot, Lyric comes in and tells her that she's too loud, calling her a lizard woman. Upon hearing this, Haeon is pissed off and clarifies that she has a name, but Lyric, being cocky, lets out that he doesn't care to learn the name of a female human. Just then, Song blackmails the wolf, saying no cup noodles for a week, and Lyric is brought down a peg as he sympathizes with her, uttering that she must be having a hard time because of that rash human, referring to Ojin. This leaves Ojin in disbelief to see how Lyric switched up so fast. Nonetheless, Vega asks Ojin to tell them everything that happened that day, and our guy reveals everything to them except for the Black Heavens part. After listening to his story, Vega and Haeon are astounded to know that he defeated a 7-star, and our boy lets out it was a close call, presuming that he would have lost if it didn't rain. Curious, Haeon asks the goddess if Lyra's stigma is that strong, to which she responds that kind of gap is easily ignored with her stigma, but still it's hard for her to believe that he won against someone 3 levels higher than him. At that moment, Lyric asks him if his lightning level has reached 9, and feeling kinda proud, he tells him to be consistent with his training. He informs Ojin that once he reaches level 10, he will be able to obtain lightning flames, and to everyone's surprise, our guy shows him the skill, which has even reached level 4, and confesses that he learned it during the last fight. Looking at this, poor Lyric is dumbfounded and cries in the corner as he worked so hard to obtain that skill, thinking maybe this bastard Ojin is the heavenly demon. Meanwhile, Vega speculates that he will receive a different reward for lighting up to level 10. Ojin asks her if she knows something about ancient constellations. Perplexed, the goddess worriedly asks him where heard this from, and our guy, making up another story, mumbles that he just remembered what the heavenly demon talked to him about before. Looks like the goddess has no choice but to tell him the truth. Vega then narrates that she was made by the founding giant, Titan, through the power of stars. Titans manage several worlds at once, and the commandments were a way to restrict her from interfering too much with the worlds. However, once in the past, all the constellations met their downfall because of the Black Heavens, the darkness born from the creation of the worlds. To be more exact, the ancient constellations refer to the constellations that were killed by the Black Heavens during that incident. Coming back to the scene, Ojin asks her about the constellations they have now, and Vega answers that they are stars newly born after that incident. Processing all the complicated info, our boy contemplates that the world has already ended once because of the Black Heavens, and these constellations are new. The quest meant that they were going to bring back one of the ancient constellations to give it to him. So even if he has no intentions of bringing this world to its end, it'll happen anyway because of the Black Heavens, because Ojin himself is the Black Heavens. Thinking it's a mess, our boy concludes that there's no point in worrying about it now, as the future has already begun to change. Just like he switched places with the dead guy Lee Shin-yuk. And what's important to him is what he does differently in this future, as what he's going to do is already decided. That's when our guy decides even if he has to lie to the entire world, he's going to protect what is important to him now. Looking at Hyun, Vega, and Lyric. The next scene takes us to Ojin, where he finally gets to what's inside the USB Jang Seoko gave him to find out the Dark Star Society's purpose. In the USB, it is revealed that these guys can't help but ponder that in this crazy world full of monsters, why some are blessed enough to be bestowed with the stigma of a constellation, whereas the outers are left to die. To undo their unfairness, they plan to kill all awakened and make everyone in the world awaken with equal powers. As crazy as it sounds, Ojin is left incredulous and recalls from what he heard at the Mokdong Gate. The Dark Society possesses the power to turn the non-awakened into awakened. He realizes that they're clearly trying to use the hatred of the non-awakened to their advantage. However, Ojin thinks nobody would actually believe in this insane idea, and this is just an excuse to expand their influence. Guessing that even Zhang didn't know their true goals, one thing is clear for sure, that these guys need to be eliminated as soon as possible. Nonetheless, he also finds out some info on a few other branches of the society and the Owl faction. He stumbles upon the data about a guy, Cheon Wusong, the son of Owl King, Cheon Do-yoon, called the Agent of the Kid and manages Dark Star Society. Our guy speculates that this might be the guy Ashad Khan was talking to on the phone back then, thinking that he should tell Junmin. The next day, at the association, Ojin tells everything to Han, and the guy is stunned by the news when he gets to know that Cheon Wusong is part of Dark Star Society. Our guy then asks him what kind of person Wusong is, and that's when Han discloses that the association is split into two factions right now. One side is the one Han himself is on. They support the association president, whereas the others support the executive team, and the head of the executive team is Cheon Wusong. Hearing this, Ojin gets to know the reason why he was scouted. Junmin continues to tell him that they offered him the position to revive the association's image, but it was also to bring someone who's a disciple of Polaris onto their side. Ojin finally gets why he offered this awkward position, rather than being an official member of the association. Because he became an official member, the other faction would have the power to give him order too. Since they don't know who's on which side, he only ever gets to meet Han, who's a clear supporter of the association president. After that, Ojin asks him if there is anything he could help with, but Han assures him that they will take care of this. Nonetheless, our boy pulls out his broken spear from the bag and requests Han for another weapon. Staring at the weapon in disbelief, Han then asks him if he wants to meet the artisan instead, which would help receive a more customized weapon, and our guy couldn't let this chance slide. Heading to the Holy Relic Research Center, Han explains to him it's where they create and research weapons and equipment made from myrrh crystals. Entering the research center, Han informs Ojin that the in charge of this place is a little artisan boy, Kim Sihu, who comes running towards them. While Han pats his head and praises him that he's the best in the field, Kim Sihu is delighted to see the lightning wolf and asks Ojin if he's getting use of the wire shooter he made for him. Telling that it broke, Sihu lets out that it's good since he didn't put much effort into it because he was busy back then. He assures Ojin that he will make a much better one this time, leaving our boy in awe as he didn't know that his world still had people this wise, polite, amazing, and great as him. However, things take an unexpected turn when Sihu says that he's going to need a lot of money. And Ojin, unpleased after the money talk, changes his remarks, thinking what an evil bastard full of greed he is in this damned god-forsaken world. Being a nice kiddo, Sihu says he can fill the rest of what he can't pay with his money since making for Ojin weapons is fun after all, while our boy is filled with joy and calls him God Sihu. Ojin reminds him that the spear broke too, but the little guy clarifies that he has to pay for it because it was not fun to make. After that, Sihu takes him to his testing area to make him check something and asks him to hold a metal bar and swing it like he would a spear. Meanwhile, Ojin swings the bar and uses the Pixis's spear art. Sihu stops him after a while and gets on his computer. He begins to analyze Ojin's movements and strikes, deducing that a spear that's shorter but has a longer blade than his old one would be nice. Our guy gets shocked that he can tell all that just from looking at that, while Sihu anticipates that he's more of a close-range fighter, given that he doesn't really use distance to his advantage. With that, he concludes that a Guandao-type spear should befit him more since it has a shorter handle part and a longer blade. Looking at the spear on his tablet, Ojin seems deeply moved as this is much greater than he expected. After that, Sihu informs him that he will go into making this and the wire shooter, so it'll take weeks, and in return, he asks Ojin to look after Mr. Gorilla, referring to Han, as he's been having a real hard time recently because of the executive team guys. As the little guy waves them goodbye, our boy thinks that he's a good kid, and Han agrees with him even though he's a bit weird. Soon after, Han asks Ojin if he has plans once he gets those weapons, and our boy lets out that he's going to farm as many myrrh crystals as he can, whilst Ojin presumes that he needs to focus on the Black Heavens quest for now. Junmin informs him that there's a pretty popular gate right now for that purpose, revealing that the monsters in that gate have 2 myrrh crystals instead of 1. Upon hearing this, a bolt of happiness hits our fella as he seems to have hit the jackpot, and before Han can express the problem about that gate, Ojin tells him to go there right away as he can't see anything but money. 1 week later in Busan, the place seems to be bustling with people. Ojin lets out that they've gone crazy after the rumors that monsters here have 2 myrrh crystals inside them. On the other hand, our guy who has come along with Vega, Hyun, and Liark ponders that a constellation, a holy spirit, Draco's metahuman, and Polaris disciple are an all-in-one party is kind of iconic. Even if they search the whole world before Lee Shin-yuk's regression, they'll never find a party like this. Filled with pride, Ojin now has his new shooter and spear Kim Sihu made, recalling that Sihu said that for portability, the spear only assumes the shape of a Guandao when he pours mana into it. Thrilled, our boy looks forward to fighting inside the gate. Moving inside the dungeon, Vegas seems to have heard that 5-star or higher monsters come out, and Ojin thinks that it's because of the difficulty, but thankfully there aren't too many people in the inner part, while our boy presumes that he will have to farm a lot of myrrh crystals in order to complete the quest. At that moment, they spot a guy who has killed many monsters, who seems delighted to come to the gate that prints mirror crystals. Peeking at the guy, Haeun recognizes him and lets out that he's Jerry Kim, a pretty famous Sagittarius, 6-star metahuman, adding that he's also a streamer who broadcasts hunting gates by himself. As soon as Ojin hears about the independent 6-star metahuman, he asks Haeun if streamers make a lot of money, as he's totally inspired by Jerry. And Haeun tells him that they do earn a lot, but they're mostly doing it for fame. Shortly, Jerry witnesses their group, and of course, the Lighting Wolf. He rushes to Ojin and says that he's a big fan. Thinking that it's fate, Jerry asks him to be the guest on his livestream as his viewers are curious about Mr. Ojin. Our boy gets confused, and that's when Jerry pulls him in for a bet, like who can hunt more monsters in a period of time. Meanwhile, his viewers go crazy as they think Jerry is challenging a 4-star, which kinda insults our boy, just as Jerry mockingly says that he will give him a handicap. Ojin catches his true intentions of inviting him on the show to get more views out of him, and wants to show off in front of his viewers. Well, if that's the case, our guy puts on a smirk and gladly takes the bet. He tells Jerry to add more stakes as it won't be fun with just a bet, while Haeun is freaking out at the back. Laughing, Jerry says that he does know a thing or two about streaming, and just as he is asked how many myrrh crystals they should bet, our boy without a flinch bets all of the myrrh crystals in. Meanwhile, the viewers are left in utter shock to see a 4-star being this confident. Jerry nearly loses his shit as they are talking about the myrrh crystals that he worked so hard to gather. Deciding to bet all the myrrh crystals, Ojin proudly pulls out his pouch of myrrh crystals that looks like nothing compared to Jerry, who has a huge pouch filled with crystals. Watching him, the viewers are laughing their ass off, thinking that the Lightning Wolf is deranged, and he has nothing to lose in this bet. Just then, they point towards Jerry, commenting that he's scared, but to maintain his reputation, he agrees on the bet. Before they start, Jerry begins the viewers' point betting where they will bet on who they think will win. The viewers are exhilarated to bet while our boy is confused to see all this. That's when Haeun explains to him that it's like sports betting. They buy points and bet on who will win. Concluding that it's gambling, Ojin is totally smitten by this idea, wondering how much he'd make if he could bet too. The current betting percentage begins, and as expected, Jerry takes the lead with 92%. However, suddenly it drops to 73%. The viewers think that the guy has gone crazy, and after making the calculations, that person bets 460 million won on Kwon Ojin. While our boy is taken aback and thinks who it is, the bets get closed. After that, Jerry Kim elucidates that the time limit is 30 minutes. They will form a party and hunt monsters, and whoever hunts more wins the bet, with whoever takes the last hit being the winner. Just then, Jerry asks Ojin where his weapon is, and our boy pulls out his new spear that looks sleek. However, Jerry, giving it an alien look, thinks his weapon is petty, and reckons that the conditions of the bets are favorable to him, who uses a ranged weapon. He wonders if Ojin has something up his sleeve and gets cocky as he dreams of standing out in front of all his viewers. He gets determined not to let this opportunity slip. Jerry decides to win at all costs, and after a while, the time begins. The fish monsters start appearing, and the streamer guy uses his flashiest technique to kill them, using his bow and arrow. Just then, our guy steps in and iconically slices the heads of 3 monsters in a row, making everyone gaping in astonishment and wondering what the hell just happened. At that moment, Jerry loses his shit and wonders if this was even real. As the hunting continues, Ojin incredibly kills the monster, and so is Jerry. Our guy reminds Jerry that the last hit is what counts and flies away with his spear gun. At the same time, Jerry strikes the arrow blast, killing multiple monsters at once. However, more monsters keep rushing towards him and are about to smash him. In a flash, Ojin electrocutes them all and compliments Jerry for having a cute scream, embarrassing him to death. Later, they both keep hunting the monsters, and eventually 30 minutes pass with the results of Lighting Wolf killing 24 monsters and Jerry Kim killing 7 monsters. With that, Ojin takes a win while Jerry is in denial, thinking how a 4-star could pull this off. That's when our guy comes in, saying he never said he was a 4-star and reveals that he's a 5-star. After hearing this doesn't make sense to Jerry, wondering even if Ojin's a 5-star, how can he close the gap between them this easily, making him think if he's nothing compared to the Polaris. Eyes on the prize, our guy takes the pouch of myrrh crystals from Jerry, who's on the verge of a breakdown. During this, they decide to divide up the points, and Jerry lets out that he will announce the username of the person who got the most points. Abruptly, Haeun gets panicked and asks Jerry why he's announcing usernames. Clarifying that it's the rule of streaming, Haeun seems to be freaking out and asks him to cancel her bet, saying the viewers voted without knowing what star Ojin was. Just then, Ojin sneakily holds her back and tells her that no one can cancel the bet. Putting on a sneaky grin, our guy exposes Haeun as he knows that she's the one who betted 460 million on him, and wonders what kind of username she used that she's so desperate to keep hidden. After a moment, Jerry announces the first place with the username Cutie Ojin Slorp Slorp, which even makes Ojin choke himself, while Haeun tries to reason with everyone that it wasn't her. Lyric asks the lizard woman if something is wrong with her while poor Haeun is mortified as she hides her face. Wrapping it up, Lyric comes to Ojin and asks if he's gonna leave already as only he got to fight. As our boy asks the wolf if he wants to go further, suddenly, a large number of monsters rush towards them from within the dungeon. Jerry freaks out to see how many there are while Lyric gets his wish. With that, Ojin prepares his spear, however to his surprise, the monsters run past him without attacking him. Noticing they didn't attack anyone, Haeun realizes that they are running away from something, and it turns out to be true when they witness a colossal Hydra, the boss monster amongst 7-star monsters. Thinking about what a Hydra is doing here, Ojin lets out that Hydra and Merman aren't related in any shape or form. Either way, Ojin looks at the positive side, reckoning that a boss-rank monster drops the highest quality mer crystals when killed, and since it appeared in this specific gate, he will be able to get 2 instead of 1, hitting a home run. Presuming he can't run away with a deal like that, our boy braces himself to fight the boss monster while Vega seems done with him, and Lyric asks if he can do it. Feeling pretty confident, Ojin assures them that he can do it, and Loki feels that can deal with Hydra as it's nothing compared to the overwhelming energy he felt from Ashad Khan. With that, our guy leaps toward the boss with his spear and uses lighting flames when shortly he is joined by Vega, Lyric, and Haeun, who assist him in the fight.